Hello everybody and welcome to the final European round of the 2024 24-hour series powered by Hankook. Good to have your company, and it's John Hindorf with Peter Mackay and Johnny Palmer, who will be taking you through this session. We've got a beautiful afternoon at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, where the massive 51 grid Clio Cup are out at the moment on qualifying duty. It is 25.1 in the air and a little bit hotter than that on the track. Absolutely perfect in terms of the weather forecast at the moment. Now, qualifying sessions. We've had this in play for a little while, but if you're new to this, then you're going to have to know, aren't you? So 15-minute sessions, 3 sessions. Each session has to have a different driver in it. If you only had 2 drivers, well, you're not going to in a 24-hour race. But if you have to, then sessions 1 and 2 would have to be different drivers, and you decide who went on session 3. You are not allowed to change your driver in the session. Session 1, if you have an AM driver, then you've got to have the AM driver in, and at the start of the session, you put your fuel in, and that's it for the 3 15-minute sessions. So you've got to get your numbers right, or you've got to tell your drivers how many laps they're going to do. Otherwise, you'll be running out embarrassingly before you get to the 3rd driver. You can just see it, can't you? Your first 2 go flying out and do the full 15 minutes. Come back in, hand it off to driver 3. He goes out, down towards turn wrong. Doesn't get any further. That would be embarrassing. It's not the way to do it. And also, you only get a single set of Hankook tyres for the 3 sessions. So it's JP, PMAC and JH in the booth. Down in the pit lane, the glorious Diana. Yes, our pop princess is with us. But we'll start with Joe Bradley. Hello, Joe.
Oh, I was very surprised seeing that. I've never been called a pop princess before. Welcome to the Circuit de Catalunya. What a perfect day. Seb, show them that sky. Not a cloud anywhere to be seen. It is a perfect day, but guess what? Where I am, come back to me, Seb. I'm in the beautiful shade where it's about 22, 23 degrees. Out there on the track, though, where the sun is blazing, that's a lot hotter. That's towards 27, 28 degrees, which means those Hankook tyres, we're going to be asking every little bit of performance from them. We're about to get ahead with kicking off with the GT4 class and the TCX class. 3 cars in TCX. We've got a plethora of GT4. It's going to be everything to play for. That's the first session coming up next. 3 15-minute segments where the AM driver will have to go first, and then 1 set of tyres, no refueling allowed. It's all about the drivers.
That's a good point, isn't it? PMAC, welcome to Barcelona, a place that you have seen many times on the TV for both 2- and 4-wheel motorsport, but you've not been here before, so welcome.
Thank you very much. This is my first time working at Barcelona. I came here 6 years ago with my cousin Grant and my uncle Bruce to watch the MotoGP when Jorge Lorenzo was on a Ducati, and he won on the Ducati. It shows you how quick time moves on, isn't it? He's now retired. But yeah, this is a wonderful circuit, both for 2- and 4-wheel motorsport, as you say, and qualifying, of course, for our 24-hour race, not as critical as it would be for a sprint encounter, but important nonetheless for the drivers to get themselves familiarised with the circuit, find out its nuances. Some of them have been here many times before, but others maybe not so experienced. So always every metre of track time is very, very important indeed.
You've seen these sessions many times in the past, and there's been 1 or 2 tiny little changes to this circuit in the last few years, notably down on the far side from us, which we can see at turn 9. We can't actually quite see turn 9 now because they've actually extended the grandstand in terms of height, but thankfully we've got a camera right pointing back to turn 9. You'll also notice there's a new hospitality area and bridge there which stops us seeing turn 10, but we've still got a decent view here. Also a little bit of new tarmac here and there, but this is a circuit for 2 or 4 wheels which always tortures the tyres, left front here in particular. A lot of long, high dynamic, high energy corners.
It's a circuit that demands everything of a car. It's a very, you can see why it's so popular for testing. The climate is one thing, but really it's the way that it puts every possible element of the car under pressure. You've got a big long straight. The front straight is really, really long with a big braking zone, but when you go through the right-hander of turn 1, the quick left of turn 2, and then it's that never-ending turn 3 where the left-hand side tyres are getting absolutely punished through there. So it really is a circuit that puts the car to the ultimate test, but also it's one that's really difficult to get a compromise on setup as well, because you've got the big long straight down where you want as low drag and low downforce a car as possible, but then there's other parts from kind of turn 2 all the way around to really to turn 9, high downforce is what you want. So it's a compromise in terms of setup for our teams and how they want the car to feel and how it's going to be balanced for the whole of this circuit.
So we're just waiting for the Clios to clear the pit lane. It'll probably take about a day and a half for them all to get out, 51 cars. So we are going to start a tiny little bit later than advertised, but we thought we'd come on air at the right time. We will have coverage, by the way, of the Clio Cup Series and the Alpine A110 GT Series as well. We've been watching those cars today with much interest. I've been fortunate enough, thanks to Alpine in Great Britain, to have a go in one of the road cars. Took it up to, not quite to your neck of the woods, but I did go across the border from Northumberland into the bottom end of Scotland, up by Jedburgh and Kelso and that area, which I thought was the right type of roads for an Alpine A110.
They are. It's known for its fantastic compliance and suspension quality, and yeah, the borders of Scotland will certainly put it to the test.
Let's go down to Joe Bradley in the pit lane. We'll fill some of the time before the green lights and the green flags come out. Where are you, Joseph?
Well, I'm at the ST Racing Garage, car 428, the BMW M3, well, the BMW M4, I should say, in the GT4 class. ST Racing, peel back the sticker, and it's Baz Cooten who's running the car. Fabian Defoe. Fabian, you are sharing the car, and I don't want to put any pressure on you guys, but you are one of the favourites, certainly, to be up in the front row of the grid.
Yeah, I mean, we have quite a strong lineup, honestly, and what we saw during the free practice and the testing yesterday was quite good. So, but still, it's a long race, so anything can happen. So let's focus on the quali and see what will happen during the race.
I mean, the race, 24 hours. I mean, who knows? Very strong lineup in this number 428, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy, especially that we are all quite in the same second, except Neil, which is factory driver, so of course he's flying. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good lineup and can't wait to race with that.
Have you done this race before, Fabian?
Barcelona, no. I did the 24 of Dubai, 6 hours of Abu Dhabi and Kuwait earlier this year. But Barcelona will be the first time for me.
What's your thoughts on the track?
I love it.
What is it that you love then about this Circuit of Catalunya?
I mean, honestly, there is a lot of, like up and down that I really love, and which allow us to be also super quick, so which is quite interesting.
Give us an idea of the driver lineup for this qualifying. I see that's Samantha in the car at the moment. So Samantha Tan will start the car. Who's next?
Yeah, so basically Samantha is going first. I will go second, and Pipa will take the last stint. So we decide to go only with the M on this qualification. Sorry, just to be a bit more fair. No, I'm joking.
I'm sure you guys are going to have a great time. It's great to have Samantha back as well, former champion in this series.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can't wait to compete tomorrow, so let's see.
We're looking forward to it as well. Thanks, Fabian. Thanks for talking to us.
Always, as the lights go green, and out goes the GT4 BMW for ST Racing. Sam Tan, of course, Samantha Tan, Canadian, holding a Canadian licence as well, the number 4 28 in the multicolour car. Can't miss that one. For those of you in the UK, particularly Alan Prosser and the rest of our Welsh contingent, Sam Tan is Fireman Sam in Welsh. Sam Tan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was in Wales a couple of weeks ago at Rally Ceredigion. It was fantastic.
Oh, no, I was very envious. I was away, but I was watching what I could.
Yep.
So here's the problem here, Peter. You've got 3 drivers who all want to go flat out because it's qualifying. But your third driver gets the lightest car, but the most used tyres. How do you get them to balance this out?
It's a little bit like when you're the youngest of 3 siblings. You'd get the hand-me-down clothes, which isn't so good, but you maybe get let off with more bad behaviour. Possibly. The middle is always the one that's the difficult one, isn't it? I'm an only child, so I'm fresh qualifying tyres all the way through my life.
Only children have it the hardest. Don't let anybody tell you anything else. It speaks the hind of only child, of course. So we've got 11, potentially 10. All 3 of us in this booth.
What does that say?
Johnny Palmer is sitting just behind us. You'll hear him in a wee while. All 3 of us only children, whereas our pit reporters both came from families. Odd that we all ended up in fairly solitary. I'm quite happy sitting in the booth on my own. Yeah. Shut the door, keep everybody else out. 10 cars I think we've got out for this. We're just waiting for Lionspeed to come out in the Porsche. I want to talk about Team Africa Le Mans in the Ginetta G55 GT4. Jan Lammers hasn't quite made it here yet, but he will be here for the weekend. Chris Pirro is in the car at the moment. Yes, that is the Pirro family. We bumped into them this morning on the way in, not literally, thank goodness. Mum, Dad and Chris all walking up the pit lane. It's been such a long time since I've seen all the family. Chris, very good race engineer as well as a good driver. Emanuele Pirro has a bit of a history, but I don't think he's ever driven a Ginetta before, so I've got one up on him on the G55. He'll catch up to me very quickly, I would have thought.
I honestly thought that when I looked at the entry list, I thought that I was in the middle of a strong cheese-induced dream when I saw Emanuele Pirro and Jan Lammers and Jeroen Bleekemolen in a Ginetta.
Good point. Yes.
It was the most wonderfully bizarre combination. I'm so pleased to see them here. I never thought I'd get to commentate on a race where Emanuele Pirro took part. I've written a lot of stuff about his exploits over the years, but great to have him here, a 5-time Le Mans 24-hour winner, someone who knows a thing or two about winning day-long races.
At RSL_studio, if you'd like to get in touch with us. We have all 11 cars Thomas Ardel's just come back into the pit lane in the Asbest Racing Seat Leon Cup Racer. A car very much on home ground, and a car very much with the origins of this 24-hour race right there with it. Let's go down now to the pit lane. Venture Engineering and their Mercedes AMG GT4 in the hands of Chris Jones at the moment. So Joe Bradley is talking to another member of the number 421 team. Which one, Joe?
Well, I'm going to talk to Matt George, but it's always great to welcome new teams to the 24 series, and Venture Engineering are just that. And even more important, I think, is the fact that they're British. Matt, it's great to have you guys here, but you haven't had it exactly easy, have you? Problems with the car this morning in practice?
Yeah, unfortunately so. As you said, first time here, we're absolutely loving the championship, having a great time. I think we've had a couple of issues with fuel contamination. We've had multiple fuel pumps through the car and have struggled to get any track time in today. But the car's going around. It's the most laps it's done all day. The guys have done an amazing job. So, touch wood, that's all the problems gone, and we can move on to have a good race.
Right. So I think John said it was Chris Jones at the wheel of the car now. What's the rota? Who's going next?
So it will be Chris, followed by Owen Hizzy, followed by me last.
Okay. And Matt, give me an idea of your racing experience. I think we haven't met.
Me personally, I raced with Aston Martin for 10 years. Across a multitude of championships. Somehow I've never done a Creventic race, which is quite astonishing. But lots of 24 hours, and then Chris and Neville super fresh to endurance racing. This will be their first one, so looking forward to passing down some experience. And of course Owen's done a couple as well, so hopefully we'll be a strong team. To be honest, as a first one, our goal is to get to the end and have a good time, and then see if we can put an attack on next year.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to know what you told the guys about endurances, but we'll leave that for the race. Maybe an interview during the race, you can let us into those secrets.
Yeah, we'll save that till about 3 a.m. when everyone's super tired.
Absolutely. Thanks for talking to us, Matt, and fingers crossed that car will continue to go round and round.
So the first indicative times are coming in, and it's the GSR Motorsport crew, the very impressive Lithuanian squad with their number 405 machine. Rokas Kevadaras has set the fastest time of the session by a big margin, a 152.195 as things stand. Second place at the moment is the NM Racing team, who have won before. In fact, they've just been popped down to third because Samantha Tan's just gone second quickest in her BMW, and very, very nearly provisional pole on the time so far. 152.264 for Samantha, just 700ths of a second off the pace, so it's getting quicker and quicker as we go. So it's Guillermo Asso for NM Racing Team third now, Chris Jones for Venture Engineering, who we just heard from his teammate there, Matt George, and then rounding out the top five, Apex MP Racing Team with their KTM Crossbow GT4. We've got two KTM Crossbows. We've got a GT2 version of it and a GT4 version of it. So the GT4 version, fifth in class at the moment with Apex MP Racing.
That car was off earlier on, that number 414, turn 7 from memory, which is at the bottom of the hill, and that wouldn't have been a small off, so they've done very well to get that car turned around in the midst of everything else that was going on as we were doing setup. And by the way, thank you very, very much indeed to everybody here at the Circuit de Catalunya, particularly their technical team and the IT team, as well, of course, as our regular partners, 021, that was off the track, NM Racing Team, you can't go that far. The guys and girls have worked very well indeed, and we welcome back Ulf, who has been a member of our broadcasts on and off for quite a long time. He's actually back at main control room in Cologne at the moment for 021, and it's Rob that is on duty in London. Rob and Tim Gray at the moment. Thank you to all of them for getting us going. Got a larger team than usual, and powered by a couple of Peugeots this weekend. Did you manage to change the steering angle?
I did. Yes, you're right. It really was quite far underneath the steering
There
column
you
on
go.
my Peugeot 208. Very handsome car, actually. Yeah, seen them, a lot of them in Rally 4 trim, but haven't had experience of.
Can we not be doing Rally 4 trim with yours this weekend?
No. It's well under control. Well under control. You can ask Diana how for an appraisal of my driving. Hopefully it wasn't too bad.
And it's a 5008 for the big bus. It's huge.
It's got 3 Isofix in the back. Across the back, one of very few cars you could buy new with 3 Isofix.
And then 2 seats. I've got another 2 seats behind that, the middle seat. It's a full 7-seater.
Wow.
Yeah, very good.
Could have all just gone in that one car.
It would have been a bit snug, I think. Not as good as the GV70 that we had at the Nürburgring a few years ago when I sat in the third set of seats, and that was incredible. And as we mentioned last weekend, it's now been confirmed. Genesis will be joining us in sports car racing in LMH, in the WEC, and possibly IMSA as well at some stage in the near future, as they are saying, with Hyundai Motorsport Group in Germany running the WEC programme. That's the strong feeling that we're getting from what we're hearing, and we are waiting to hear that Chip Ganassi will be the team that's going to run them. Thank you very much. In the US, that's the strong money that is coming out of the US at the moment, but probably for 2026, I think that, Peter, because you're going to be watching Hyundai still running the WRC cars next year, aren't you?
Yes, the Hyundai World Rally team still running next year. They signed their drivers up and everything. What happens after that is unclear, but yeah, great to see another brand engaging in the top level of endurance racing and showing that the latest rule set, which is locked in until pretty much the end of this decade, is really very much a good one. But that whole ladder doesn't work unless you have a good feeder systems, good championships for everyone to start through. And there's you know, many drivers who come through the 24/8 series here who race throughout the other rest of the global ecosystem of motor racing. Lion Speed GP, purple in Sector 1, it's Daniel Miller who's at the wheel of that beautiful Porsche GT4 RS. They're third quickest at the moment, but it's just gone away a bit in Sector 2, unfortunately. They dropped a lot of time in Sector 2 there as Daniel Miller. So Sector 1, funny enough, through the big high downforce section, where the car was looking good through there, but just had a big moment coming through into the final corner through turn 16. Up to the timing beam he comes then. Is it going to be any improvement then for Daniel Miller? Up to the line, 153.179. No, nearly.
Absolutely lovely car control. I got all the way to the edge of the curb. This circuit being used for MotoGP and World Superbikes has the green edges. Now, it's very simple track limits in two-wheel motorsport. If you put anything on the green or the red, then you're off the track. It's a little more nuanced here. Last weekend in our Endurance Cup, all of the curb was being allowed, but we're watching for track limits which will immediately disqualify that lap, of course, in this qualifying session. If you're wondering why we're not getting overly excited about where people are at the moment, as it's Porsche, BMW, Porsche, Ginetta, AMG, KTM in the top 6. At the moment, we are setting times, but it will be at the final part. And if you're following along on Get Race Results, livetiming.getraceresults.com, and hit live timing for the 24H series here, you will see there is an average column. And that's the one that is going to be important. Qualifying 151.827 for Rokas Kvedaris in that 405 Ginetta J56. And of course his average is the same. That will change as we go through, with about 1 minute and 45 still to go in this first session.
And Rokas, a podium finisher in the Baltic TCR Championship. GSR, they put in some really strong performances in the 24/8 series in the past, and really, really cool outfit. Love the livery they've got in that car. So this beautiful kind of very dark green, almost like a kind of forest green on that Ginetta G56 GT4. They could be a real threat in the GT4 class, and if they have a clean run, they could be in for a very good overall result as well. That's the thing is that if you run clean in a race like this, you can get a real giant killing overall result. We've seen Porsche Cup cars on the overall podium in 24-hour races. For I recall back at the 24 Hours of Sebring in 2021, the name has escaped me now. The Ebby Motors team, that's it. The Ebby Motors team with a 991 Porsche Cup car finished on the overall podium, which was mighty, mighty impressive. Interestingly, with less than a minute left on the clock, most cars are in the pits. 6 cars are in the pits. So I think the best of the tyre is... Yeah, save the tyre,
Save the tyre. So track limits we mentioned there. Obviously, any time you're off the track in qualifying, you're going to lose that particular lap. If you go outside the bounds of the track on turn 14, the last right-hander, and we are not using the chicane layout, by the way, we are using what I would call the moto layout, which I think is much, much better. Then not only will you lose the lap you're on, you'll lose your leg snap as well on that. Other places, inside of turn 2, that is being policed very high. Everywhere is being policed, but some more closely than others. Inside of turn 2, the outside of turn 9, which is at the top of the hill, and then 13 and 14, as we've mentioned. So again, coming outside. So mostly, in fact, all bar one of those, all bar turn 2, are all right-handers, aren't they? Through there. It is the right front and right rear tyres that get the absolute hammer here because of the long duration that you're in those right-handers. So the left-hand side tyres are what's called the working tyres here. Love this track. Talked to Jimmy Broadbent just at lunchtime, who has never driven this track. He got the call on Tuesday. He was added to the squad on Wednesday in that A46 BMW. He was getting quicker and quicker in that free practice session. What a track this is. There are places that are nuanced, but I would say this is not the hardest track to learn. All tracks are hard. I'm very lucky. I remember corners very well, whether they're on tracks or on roads, on longer areas, and how they flow into each other. But it's not just about remember them, it is about being able to maximise the speed and minimise your time through it. Let's take a look at the times then, as we have come to the end of this first session. Now, this is just literally a third of the way through. 1:51.8 is the best time at the moment for GSR Motorsports, ahead of ST, Samantha Tan Racing, Neil Verhagen, John Miller, Pippa Mann, as well as Fabien Defeux behind the wheel of that car. They're on a 52.0. 52.9 for Lion Speed, 53 flats for NM Racing, CWS on a 53.7. The KTM Crossport from Apex MP in 6th with a 54.3. 1 minute 54.4 for Venture Engineering in their AMG, and the second of the Ginettas, the Team Africa, is next up. Then it's JMEC Engineering on a 56.7, 57 flat for Zorg Rennsport. ES Best Racing in the TCE TCAX car have a 57.2. Let's go back to the team that has a 1:53.7 to their name at the moment. It was Colin White who put the time in. He's out of the car now. 5th position so far for the CWS Engineering Ginetta. Joe Bradley.
Yeah, from one brand new team to a stalwart, a fixture of the 24H series, and that's CWS. They're here with the car number 178, that's their Ginetta, and of course the man with his name above the door, Colin White, has just qualified the car. Colin, you're quite a way ahead of the next car in class, so you must be pleased with that.
Yeah, it's been a few years since we come here, but I do like the new change to the track.
You were ahead of me. It's as if we've scripted this. The last time you were here, we had that little sort of piffly little chicane, didn't we?
Yeah, we got to the end of the straight, then you had that funny little left-hander, everybody tightened up and hit each other. Yeah. And then you had a very narrow bit, and then up onto the slippery bit, as I call it, then you used to come into the bus stop. Yeah. Now the bus stop, going in, then the end of the straight, you've got a nice big wide gap. You can got plenty of room there to get it round the corner nice and quick. Still got the slippery corner, but then you go, and you mustn't let go. Just keep the throttle nailed, and like you go through the two bends there on the main start, and you don't slow at all.
So hang on, Colin. So the final two bends on this track are absolutely nailed flat in top gear?
No.
All right, fourth?
The engine's not powerful enough for that. No, fourth gear.
Right, but you nailed flat comfortably.
Yeah, comfortably flat. Yeah, it's all the way through. It's a good ride. Yeah, it's good.
When are you grabbing top gear then? Whereabouts are you grabbing top gear? Just coming out the corner, or?
No, we're in the top about 2/3 of the way down the straight. I was worried that we're going to run out of revs. We had to bring another diff just in case, because being the momentum you're getting now coming out those two corners, you're going a lot faster. Hence, the lap times are a lot faster now than what they used to be.
Yeah, you brought the car in. I think maybe a lap or two early. The team are telling me.
Yeah, I was at 0.11 down the straight here, and do I need to do any more than that and wear the tyres out? The other lads got to have a go, haven't they? Yeah. And they'll tell me off if I ruin the tyres for them.
Yeah, we've got great stuff so far, Colin. Great to have you back with the Ginetta, and fingers crossed for the next two guys in your car.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you, everybody.
God, what a character. Great to see him well and back racing again. Had his challenges over the last few years in and out of the car, but great to see him back. So, you got the hang of this now, haven't you? So here we go. Stand by, everybody. We reset the stopwatch and the countdown clock to 15 minutes. And we head out again. So a new set of drivers. It's Fabien Defeux for ST Racing. Owen Hizzy will take over the Venture Engineering Mercedes AMG GT4. Owen, who cut his teeth with Colin White in the Ginetta and impressed an awful lot of people in so doing. It is Kim Berwanger in the Asbest Racing Machine. Alistair McKinnon in CWS, the 178. Aras Vedras in the GSR Motorsport Ginetta. So both Ginettas already back out. Johnny Greyberg for SRST Zorg Rennsport, waiting for the super looking crossbow to pull out. And then I'll tell you who that is. That's the Apex MP racing car. Lion Speed just going out as well. It's Jimmy Broadbent in the JMEC BMW M3E46. Stunning looking car. Absolutely stunning looking car, the 133. So there goes the Lion Speed car, and that is Dennis Bourne behind the wheel of the black and red GT4 Porsche 718 Cayman. Here's the who's that coming out? That was the Genera. I thought that car was already out actually.
Is that Emanuele Pirro?
It is
out of the pits
in the Team Africa Le Mans car, which is the 455.
Pirro in a qualifying run. Here we go.
He's been stunning every time I've seen him recently. Classic Le Mans last year. He's doing an awful lot of classic racing. He's doing that much racing. He's retained his status in terms of his driver rank.
It's a bronze. It's an FIA bronze.
Is he a bronze?
Yeah.
Oh, he has come down to bronze. So Jan Lammers is a bronze as well. So I have a bit of a problem.
Get back to Le Mans at this rate.
I have a could go back to Le Mans, yeah, particularly in an GT3. Absolutely. I have a problem with this. Here we are in Creventic, where me and Jimmy Broadbent and a number of other people are trying to get our drives as bronzes, and somebody says, "So would you like to have Hindorf, or how about Lammers or Emanuele Pirro?"
With the greatest of respect
Martin
to you, John,
Brundle.
that's not a difficult call, is
Martin
it?
Brundle, who else?
Johnny O'Connell.
Yeah.
Max Angelelli.
Yeah, all bronze drivers now.
David Donahue.
Yeah. The issue was I could never get any more than a bronze, and they're now as down as low as they can be. They've aged back to a bronze.
I wonder if it'll get reform at some point. The FIA driver
I
ranking
hope not. In all honesty, I'm having a joke, but
not having a ranking system. I think you do need a ranking system nowadays, but maybe the way that it's handed out. Anyway, we've only got 12 minutes of this segment of qualifying. That's an hour-long podcast, John. That's
no.
That's a different kettle of fish entirely. So Dennis Bourne out for the 424 Lion Speed team, relatively new to racing at this level, but has been driving with Lion Speed this year in the 24/8 series, and that's the cool thing. You've got someone like Colin White who's competed in nearly 500 race meetings, and then you've got people who are in their early stages of top level motorsport. So that's what this championship, the breadth that this championship has. We've got multiple Le Mans winners in the field. We've got drivers who are young, old, you name it. We've got the lot, and that's what makes 24/8 series so special. So any times in yes we do. The first is Fabien Dufault, 152.439. So that's just about 4/10 off Samantha Tan's best in that car, and that gives them an average of 152.2. So we'll have to wait till we see what the GSR Motorsport Ginetta will do. Aras Kevadaras now is taking over from Rokas. We'll see what Aras can do and see if they can hold on to their position at the top of the chop.
It's Peter Mackay and John Hindorf. If you wonder where Johnny Palmer is, he's here. He's just sitting behind us, and he'll be taking over for the pole position runs in the second half of this session. Should have done it the other way actually, because we really shouldn't have John me on at the same time, because people get confused because they can't tell us apart, bizarrely, which I really don't understand. I'm brutally honest. So 10 minutes to go. Averages now start to come into play at the end of this session. We don't have running averages at the moment, do we? Yes, oh nice, we do. Yeah, 151.827 and a 151.916 for the GSR Motorsport G56. Quickly do that in your head, add them together, do the base 60 maths, and then divide by 2, and the average is 151.871. So we do have those. Again, if you want to follow along, livetiming.getraceresults.com, and if you want to be in touch with us, then at RSL_studio on X, Twitter. That's still Twitter as far as I'm concerned, and that is the way to get in touch with us this weekend. And thank you to those who have already. Good to have your company. Let us know where you're watching and listening to our coverage. Available on YouTube, on the 24-inch series website, or at radio-show.co.uk. Hello to Right Turn Lover, who's tuned in. He says, I remember a couple of times when this race was done by only 2 drivers. I think Leia Sainz was part of the respective drivers at least once. I think you're absolutely right. She was. I can't remember when she was in a 2-driver team. But this has been part of the championship for quite a while, and generally speaking has been the final race of the year. The European Series to be decided at the end of the 24 hours. It is, by the way, I should mention this, it is a noon, it is a high noon start. We'll be on the air with Diana doing her grid walk at 11:30 Central European Summertime tomorrow. We've got Clio races tonight, Clio and Alpine races tonight and tomorrow. You'll find those on their respective websites as well. I'm sure it won't be difficult for you to find those. We will be putting the audio out on RS1. And again tomorrow morning, so noon on Saturday to noon on Sunday. So we will be well over and done with before any of the single mate championships get underway. So if you're watching either IndyCar or Formula One single class championships, I should have said, then you'll be able to watch your favourite multi-class racing, and that will be all over and done with. And we will also, in the night break that we have here, Johnny Palmer and I will be doing the WEC from Fuji on Sunday. I'll do the qualifying and FP3, give Johnny a chance to have a bit of a snooze because he's coming back to do the early morning shift on Saturday for the Alpine races. Time to head back down to the pit lane.
Yeah, well, looks like we've got a problem for the number 101, which is it's a TCR spec Seat, the Leon Cup racer. The driver at the wheel, Kim Bergwanger, I believe, you guys can confirm that from the timing screens. He's brought the car in with what is a problem, but I'm suspicious as to what the problem is, because they've pretty much done nothing but talk to the driver. They haven't even plugged a laptop in, so I'll see if one of the team, maybe the car controller. Is there a problem with the car?
The problem was the car has some issues, electrical issues in the engine bay. We have now made a hard reset and hope it is now fixed for the moment.
Yeah, what's your name, sir?
Sebastian.
All right, Sebastian. I'll come to you, Sebastian, if I ever need to speak to you about the technicals on the car, okay?
Yes, no problem. You can do it every time. You're welcome.
Right. Fingers crossed that reset has fixed the problem for Kim.
We hope so.
Absolutely. I'll leave you to fingers crossed.
So the 101 is back out onto the circuit for the last 5 minutes of this session. We've just had a new fastest lap of this whole group in session 1 or session 2, qual 1 or qual 2. 1:51.304 for Aras Kvredas, and that takes their average down to a 51.5, Peter.
Very impressive. This is what GSR Motorsport have been doing this season. When things run right, when the car is in good condition and is running well, they're really quick, and they're going to be a big threat. The Seat Leon is back out again, which is good to see. One time I want to mention is that of Jimmy Broadbent in the BMW M3 E46. That's a very old car. That's a 20-year-old car. He's done a 1:52.9, which is just 1.6 seconds off the outright fastest time in a right up-to-date GT4 car. So really impressive stuff from Jimmy Broadbent to be jumping in the car at the last minute, and it's an old machine. It will not have the same performance of a GT4, and it's right up there on pace. Very impressive.
No traction control on that car. It has got ABS. I was talking to the Jimster earlier on, and he literally had not sat in the car at that point. So that practice session earlier on today was the first opportunity that they had that he had to drive that car.
It's impressive, very impressive. I mean, I think it shows you, because Jimmy was saying he'd never driven on the circuit before.
No.
I bet you he's done 10,000 laps here virtually, though.
No, he said he'd only done one.
Virtually?
Yeah, one lap, that's all he did. He said he didn't want... No, I'm only kidding.
I don't believe that for a second.
Of course I'm only kidding. He didn't want to spoil the excitement of coming here. He said, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Michael Ambrose for Apex in the blue and white KTM crossbow, but all KTM crossbows have to have some orange on, so there is a little bit of it on there. These are the futuristic spaceship looking cars with the flip-up front end, or the pop-up front end, that makes for ease of access. Down to the last 3 minutes. Let's head back to the pit lane.
Oh, he's already into the pits. Emanuele satisfied, I think, with the session so far for this car. However, we've got an engineer tapped into the. He's got his computer plugged in. We'll grab a word with Emanuele. I think it's Jerome Bleckenmolen who's getting his helmet on to take the car out next.
Joe,
the car just being readied for the next driver,
Joe?
but nothing apparent.
Joe,
yes, sir?
which of the two Pirros do you think was quicker by half a second?
Chris.
Correct.
He's younger. He's got younger eyes.
No, that's the average time.
Oh, no, sorry.
No.
Sorry,
Okay.
that's the average
Dad's still
time.
got the bragging rights by a second.
Has he really?
Yeah,
All right,
sorry.
okay.
No, yeah. Emanuele's still the fastest.
I'm conscious that the session's nearly coming to an end, so I'll save the chat to Emanuele, because you know how good a talker he is. He might take us across into the next session, so we'll wait a few minutes before we grab him. Yeah, Jerome is getting into the car, by the way, guys.
I bet the first thing he says is ciao and hello everybody. I bet that's the first thing he says.
Well, I hope he doesn't
down to the
say
last
what
2
he said
minutes.
at that football match, eh? I still should have retired.
Last
on
2
that.
minutes. Yes, you should.
So last 2 minutes, the number 455 Team Africa Le Mans car is in. Emanuele Pirro's brought it in, as we just heard, and Jeroen Blekemolen getting into the car. Jeroen with so much experience in this championship and, of course, many others. A winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans LMP2 class back in 2008, alongside Jos Verstappen and Peter van Merkstein in a Porsche Spider. In fact, they won here as well in the Le Mans Series too.
Oh yeah,
if you remember that. Yeah,
I was saying for that.
Yeah,
I was saying for that. G55 cockpit is a fairly claustrophobic place to be. It's not a huge amount of room, as the Golf GTI goes exploring the outer edges. Is that Leon?
It's Leon TCR.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same floor pan though.
It might need a new differential after bouncing over the curb at turn 8. Just on the exit, was all over the curb there and bouncing and full throttle all the way.
That is the number 101 for AS Best Racing, and coming out of turn 6?
8.
Oh yes, 8, going up the hill. Yeah, absolutely. It's going right over the edge of the curb. A bit of tyre squealing, understeering through 13 into the final corner. Oh, the back end is wanting to steer that car. I think they might have slightly underestimated how much they need the rear Hankooks to stick there. They might have dialed a little bit too much rear steer into that car, or Kim has slightly overheated. Maybe the pressures need to come down a little bit. 58.6 his last lap. His best of 57.4. So, as you might imagine, a couple of mistakes there, Peter, have cost him a little bit.
A little bit, but just critically just made it over the line before the checkered flag came out. So there's an opportunity here for Kim Berwanger to get a better lap in and get the average lap time up, because they're not far behind the next car in class in terms of average. It's just behind, so they should be able to get themselves up the order a little bit in the TCE category with their Seat Leon TCR, and as you mentioned, very much the local local favourite, isn't it? Of course, Seat, the great Spanish brand.
Yeah, and the Seat Sport factory at one stage was building the Seat, or the Cupra as it became, of course, the Cupra TCR car, the Audi booted version of the TCR car, the RS3, and the Golf GTI. They were all on the same platform. Now, there's new versions of those cars now. I think only the Audi and the Cupra made it through to the Evo. The Golf didn't make it through from BMW, although there's plenty of them still racing and still being serviced by, it's Jordi Janier, isn't it, who still runs the Seat Sport side of things. Into the pit lane for Kim, and is the last driver to get it in. Here comes Jerome Blekemolen. Jan Lammer's not quite with us yet, so it's an Italian-Netherlands split in the racing Team Africa Le Mans. Let's take a look at how it stands after two 15-minute sessions. Now, the average times are not being shown there. That's the fastest times in this session, but it roughly mirrors where we are. It is GSR at the top with a 1:51.5 average from a 52.2 from ST Racing. Venture with a 53.4 in third, 53 flat for Lion Speed in fourth. Then it's NM in fifth with a 52.9. Jimmy Broadbent's team with a cracking lap there from Jimmy, a 52.9. He'll be delighted with that. That brings their average to a 54.8 and takes them to the lead of the TCE, TCX category. With in second place CWS Engineering, the 154.6 average, 54.4 for KTM, Apex MP, 55.9 for the Ginetta from Team Africa. They've moved up 2 places thanks to Emmanuel Pirro. SRS Team Zog Rennsport next up in 10th, 57.4 average, and then the Seat Leon Cup racing car, a 57.3. It has closed up appreciably, Peter, in those positions.
That it has, yeah, but at the moment it's GSR Motorsport with a 0.7 of a second gap at the front of the field, so they'll be delighted at the moment. They have played their, so we say their strongest ranked driver.
And that's exactly what I was going to say, yeah.
They have, because you have to use if you have an AM in your lineup, you have to run them at the beginning in the first session. After that, it's free. It's free. So they've decided to jam today rather than jam tomorrow, and put their quickest driver in for session 2.
On the face of it, around just over 2 mile circuit, 2 and a bit mile circuit, and a 1:57 lap, 7/10 sounds a lot to make up. But of course, if the third person in your car is half a second quicker than you were expecting, and the other guy is half a second slower, that's a 1 second swing. And then you've got to average it out over those 3 times. So it's actually, you've got to be careful about calling this too early.
Definitely. GSR Motorsport, they've definitely done a great job so far. A 151.8 at the start from Rokas Kivadaris, and then 151.3 from Aras, who's the only semi-pro graded driver. So he's the highest graded driver, so you would expect him to do that. But ST Racing are about to put Pippa Mann in the car, who's there as their second most strongly graded driver in there. So can't wait to see this third session on old tyres as well, of course, don't forget.
About to get underway. Before we see the fast times, let's speak to a true superstar. Emmanuel Pirro is with our superstar in the pit lane, Joe Bradley.
It's a long time since I've spoken to this fella in a pit lane. It's also a long time since I've seen you with that face of yours when you got out of the car. Emanuele, you may be a retired professional, a 3-time Le Mans winner, but when you get out of a race car, you went through the same process. You talk to the Pete, you talk to Jerome, you talk to the engineer. You never lose it.
I tell you, the pleasure is more mine than yours, and I would like to say hi to the whole team. Unlike you, I keep hearing and seeing you in the races. Since we last left, I have done a large number of historic races, Goodwood and historic Le Mans and so on. But this is although we are really running a very amatorial operation, it's a real race. It's a car that you can push. You can try to find your own limit, and it's super cool. This is really the other end of long distance races. You know, we had the privilege to do it at the top end, which is an incredible journey that you appreciate it. I did appreciate it while doing, I have to say, but even more later, because you see how difficult it is to fall into that time frame where you could fall into such a long competitive journey. But this is also a good way to race with a bunch of friends. Everybody gives what he has, and there's no sponsor. There's no spare. I was just on the telephone trying to find in Italy a spare alternator because we only have one, and so the real target is to finish the race and to do the best we can. And it's good to smell and live the two extreme of motorsport.
The other thing I would think, Emanuele, is racing with your son Chris. You don't get to do that very often. Have you raced together before?
We did race a similar car 2 years ago with the same friend Greg Mills in South Africa with the other son Goofy, with whom I raced Goodwood last weekend. They're both engineers. We decided not to incentivize them to become racing drivers, not because we don't believe in motorsport, but to make a profession out of motorsport, you have to be really good, and to assess how good you are is so difficult. I experienced this, by looking at the young drivers, especially when I was at McLaren. From good to very good is such a fine line that can make you become a professional racing driver or not. So thank God they became both engineers, which actually, this is what I really wanted to become when I was a kid. And one works in F1, the other one in F4. We are a close family. We talk about motorsport every day and night. And whenever we have the opportunity, also they have the opportunity to prove me that they could somehow make it. It's a good thing.
Now then, show everyone your hat, Emanuele. Team Africa Le Mans. That's the team name. Tell us a little bit about the team and the name and where they came from.
The team is it's been founded by Greg Mills, who is a gentleman actually who competed in 2 World Karting Championship with me in 78 and 79 in Le Mans and Estoril, and we got in touch about 15 years ago. He's doing completely different life. He's an intellectual person working to create peace in the African countries and also in the Middle East country. He's a super smart guy with a passion. But he's South African, and in South Africa things are done in a South African way, with low means, with a lot of will. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is. I think we went through in these 2 days actually through issues that would have put a big team on their knees, but we're still hanging on. And so with his own resources, he put together a group of friends, Jan Lammers, Jeroen Blekkemolen, myself and him, just for the sake of trying hard and making, first the big thing is making it to here with all the logistic things that for professional people, this is routine more or less, but to organize everything from scratch, it's a big challenge. So poor Greg Mills he's also got an injured knee because he fell off the bike while training for this race. So this is the good part. We are here with the Olympic spirit somehow. Yes.
Well, 24-hour race, Emanuele, you have that spirit. Thanks for talking to us, Emanuele. No doubt we'll get to chat during the race. Thanks.
Well, from one Ginetta doing very nicely to another in a bit of strife with Daniel Morris in the number 178, facing the wrong direction in the turn 12 gravel, and that's brought out a red flag, and it has stopped the clock with just over 10 minutes to go. No major changes, says Hindorf, looking down through there in the first 5 minutes of that session. Whilst we were talking to Emanuele, we were just waiting for people to get up to expect. How good is it to hear Pirot again on the radio, on the TV?
Very special. Yeah, very special. And you look what he did in his career. He won the Nürburgring 24-hour back in the late 1980s. He was Italian Super Touring champion. He won Le Mans 5 times, Sebring twice, Petit Le Mans 3 times, the American Le Mans Series twice. You'd be here all day going through his career, and the thing I love about his story is that he really had to drag himself up through the rankings, and he was so persistent all the time, and so much so that the people who he was asking for opportunities were saying, be patient, Emanuele, be patient, but he couldn't be patient now, as you know, as there can be. But yeah, wonderful to have him here, and what a cool story as well, with a good friend to get a group of friends together and go and take on this race. That's what it's about.
Fastest lap in TCE TCX so far is that of Milos Pavlovic, excuse me, it was his predecessor. However, at the top of the timing, Nigel Greensoul is about to put a fast lap in when he next goes out, but a 1:52.949 for Jimmy Broadbent on his first opportunity in qualifying. Had a bit of time in the car in free practice earlier on, but that was the first time he'd seen the BMW E46. Let's find out what he thinks of it as the 178 Ginetta is on its way back to the pit lane.
Jimmy, Hindhaugh just described your lap time as a cracking lap time, and you should be happy with it, were you?
Yeah, I was pushing pretty hard. We're really determined to be top of our class, or at least qualifying. So car was good, so I thought, why not? We'll give it a go.
Now, remarkably, your first time here in that car, well, first time here, period, was in that practice session just before qualifying. And you obviously learnt the track pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say the obvious answer is I've driven around here thousands of times in sim, so I know where it goes, you know, and sort of getting out here in real life is just unlocking that experience from sim and going, okay, that makes sense. Oh, that camber's slightly different. I'll keep that in my head. And after about, 5-6 laps, you're pretty much there. So, yeah, I mean, it's been an easy car to learn. So
that's interesting from the sim world, and I mean, we're all sim racers, but the fact that the track is pretty much exactly the same as what you find on the sim.
Yeah, I mean, I was practicing in a GT4 here. We don't have this car in the sim, unfortunately. Braking point's pretty much the same. So, okay, I'll try this braking point. Yeah, that works. And then suddenly, it's just about putting those little pieces together, but really good.
The BMW E46, I mean, you've got probably the biggest fan base of anyone here, but that car is a massive fan favourite, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy that it's here. It's one of those cars that really stands out in this field, Nothing against the GT3s and GT4s. They're all great. As you can hear it in the background there, really revving up.
Yeah, we're just going through his gearbox sequence there, I think, Jimmy. We've got the car on the jacks and we're just going through the box, I think. Was the car showing any problems in that area when you were out with it?
No, it seemed fine to me. I mean, we've had a change of steering rack earlier on today, but that's about it. Car's been fine. So, but little teething problems, I think, that we're just trying to get it sorted for the race.
Okay, Nigel in the car as well.
Yeah, quite a fast guy, Nigel, so yeah. Hopefully they'll meet my time. I'm hoping not.
Thanks, Jimmy. Great to have you here, mate. Got to say it.
Top of the TCX class at the moment. The average is very close there, just a couple of tenths between them and the Ginetta G55, the 178 car, which has just found its way out of the gravel track. Needed a bit of assistance. Daniel Morris will not be endearing himself to his fellow competitors. In fairness, I'm seeing that he was trying to stay off the racing line as he was coming round, but unfortunately, at some stage, he's going to be at the apex of a corner as he was coming round from turn 12 into the pit lane. We're back underway again with just under 9 minutes to go. It's P-Mac, Peter Mackay and John Hindhaugh in the booth. Johnny Palmer will be taking over from me for the second part of qualifying, which comes up at the end of this. We'll crown our GT4 and TCX pole sitters, but of course the main part, the GT part of the race, with a huge field of 992 Cup cars, that is still to come. Well, unless something really odd happens, that will be our overall pole sitter for the 24H Series powered by Hankook here at Barcelona, Circuit de Catalunya. Beautiful afternoon. Could not want for better weather. Mid-20s. Bizarrely, the two Scots this morning were complaining about how cold it was, and I was sitting out like a lizard in the sun, and thinking, this is fabulous. And I've got shorts and a T-shirt on, and there's I need a hat, I need me puffer jacket.
I've just got back from a nice week in Gran Canaria where it was sort of 30 degrees, so maybe I just felt chilly comparatively to that.
First world problems there.
Totally. And I tell you, I was in the Czech Republic about a month ago, and
that was steaming there.
Oh, it was hot.
Yeah,
very hot.
Well, we were in Spa last weekend, of course, and weather for the race was absolutely perfect. Could not have been any better. Particularly for our hard-working pit lane team. Nick Damon and Di were on duty for that. Say hello to Nick. He's not too far away from us, although on RC duty this weekend down at Alicante, if I'm not mistaken. At RSL_studio, if you'd like to get in touch with us. Thank you for those of you who already have, all across Europe. People watching and listening. Venture Engineering then with their fastest first sector for the number 421. His car at the moment in the hands of Matthew George. As he comes to the line, he will improve his time and he will improve the position of that car.
152.617 then. It's not the very, very quickest we've seen throughout this qualifying, but it is on older tyres, so you have to take it in context there. But brings Venture Engineering up onto the front row in what is going to be a really competitive GT4 class. We've got a lot of good GT4 cars here, but GSR Motorsport, Mindaugas Liatukas is just on a 153.514, his personal best. But the averages, there's about half a second between them. Liatukas for GSR Motorsport, half a second ahead of ST Racing with Pippa Mann,
who's just gone back into second. Ginetta, BMW, Mercedes, Porsche in the top four. The averages just under a second between those top fours. Patrick Kolb now, the man behind Lion Speed GP, is pedalling the 424, the black and red 718 Cayman GT4. What was Pippa's time?
Pippa was 153.754, but you look down to 6th on the order, the KTM Crossbow, 6th on the averages, Milos Pavlovic, a 151.694. That is the fastest.
The absolute fastest.
It's the absolute fastest of this session. Qualifying 2, GSR Motorsport went quicker, but on older tyres, that's mighty impressive. The little KTM, what a performance. Channeling the MotoGP 6. I need to look and see if KTM have won here in MotoGP. No.
Did they win a sprint? That wet, dry sprint. P-Max heading. I know they won on home ground, didn't they? In Austria, in one of the 2 races that I had there in that year.
KTM's Miguel Oliveira fended off Pramax's Johan Zarco in an enthralling MotoGP Catalan Grand Prix in 2021.
That was a full-length race?
Yep.
Yeah. There you go. I sat and watched that whole race. So.
That was the same race where Fabio Quartararo's Zip went.
And didn't he
got a penalty?
He got a penalty because he threw his chest protector.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. We have all the GT4s in the top 7 places, and then the TCE, TCX cars in the next positions. So 7 from 4, which is good. I like it. Green from orange on the timing screen. Follow along, live timing.getraceresults.com. Have a look at the tracker on there, as well as the penalty screen and the times. We're spreading our attention across all of those during the race as well. We'll be bringing you up to date with the stint lengths. Change the setup for the main timing screen, tells you when they're last pitted as well. Down to the last 3 minutes 33, 32, 31, 30 as they come across the line. Was that an improvement there for Nigel Greensall? Yes, it was. And it actually moves him up in the general classification. Jerome Blake-Molan has done that car's fastest lap, that car being the 455. The Team Africa Le Mans car, 53.0 for Jerome, hardest working man in motorsport. If he's sitting at home on a weekend, he's worried that he's forgotten that he should be somewhere. That's basically how it works with Jerome.
he must be on first name terms with all of the staff at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, I'm sure. Apex MP Racing are purple in Sector 1, purple in Sector 2, and it's a big time, 1:51.486. The best we've seen in this session. Is it the best we've seen? It's nearly the best we've seen across all 3 sessions. I tell you what, Milos Pavlovic is flying in that KTM.
Absolutely loving this circuit, the KTM. I think the KTM made its debut here as a GT4. Certainly the GT2 was shown here at one stage a few years ago. This race being the end of the European season, we often see a few interesting cars turn out in readiness for the following year. The Mercedes, I seem to remember the new Mercedes came here and was entered by the factory, by AMG, and basically their customers, all of their customers, made up the team, because they were all the people who were racing here all had to go in that car during the race in race conditions. And I thought, you know what, that's very clever. That was very clever.
It's the ultimate test drive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think they were waiting with the papers with the click of the pen saying, so how many would you like, sir?
Yes, they're very good at getting people to upgrade.
This would be some achievement, I think, already for JMEC Engineering. We have to stress the BMW E46 M3 is a 20-year-old car or more, and that's got the orange lights on it, so I think it's probably more around the turn of the millennium, that car, and it's ahead of the Ginetta G55, Seat Leon Cup Racer, and Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 in the TCX category. That's really, really impressive from that whole squad. Of course, they've all got to perform in the car to get that average time in there. Just under a minute left to go. GSR Motorsport has just put in their best time of this session. Mindaugas Liatukas 1:52.845. They sit on pole by 0.7 of a second at the moment in their category.
So that gap has remained the same for a moment. Venture Engineering was second, but Pipperman has pulled back second place, and Patrick Kolb improves, and it's enough of an improvement in the 424 Lightspeed Porsche, the black and red car, heading down towards turn 1 now. It's enough of an improvement for Patrick to go into third position on the timing and scoring. So Venture now pushed back down into fourth, but still the best of the two AMG GT4s.
Big moment on the brakes there for Patrick Kolb coming down into turn 1. I mean, in a GT3 car, you're doing 265 kilometers an hour there when you hit the brakes, down to about 110 in a GT3. GT4 will be slightly slower than that, but not by a huge amount, and he had a proper lock-stop to lock-stop moment there on the brakes. Of course, the tyre, the way that the Hankook tyre works, it's very, very good on the first few laps, then it drops to a plateau and stays there. So it's sort of, we're at that point now where we're still seeing lots of personal bests on the timing screen, but they're at that plateau, I think, now.
What they do is they're burning off the racing fuel, so the car is getting lighter. The performance of the Hankook remaining at that level, as Peter rightly says. Being fortunate enough to race on and qualify on Hankooks, and it's an extraordinary good product. It really is. They are supplying the Lamborghini Super Trofeo through their global motorsport program. Speaking to the guys in the States, they've been very, very impressed with the performances.
Winner of the Barham Rally, one of the toughest, I would say the toughest tarmac rally in the world, with Dominik Strateski, beat all the other major tyre manufacturers in that rally about a month ago. So yeah, big achievement for Hankook, and will supply the World Rally Championship next year, switching over from Pirelli. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, they've had a good spread of motorsport. Hankook did DTM for a while, Formula 3, they used to do the Formula 3 Masters, of course.
But I think the partnership with the 24H series, we were talking about this last night in the hotel, that the partnership between Hankook and the 24H series, which of course is the last race, is one of the longest standing you'll ever see in between a tyre company and a series, which is fantastic.
We're 9 minutes away from starting the first qualifying session for GT3, GTX and 992. Let's remind ourselves of how things are going. GSR from ST, from Lion Speed, from Venture, from NM. Let's hear from the Paul Sitters then in the GT4 category. It is the G56 team of GSR Motorsport.
And it's Aris Cavaderas, who, I hope I said that right, Aris. So you put in the second qualifying session time, which was the quickest car in your car. But of course, it's all about the three drivers, and you guys are on the GT4 pole position.
Well, we're really quick today because of the car itself. Because we learned this car in actually a year. So it's really fun to drive, and you control everything. Like it's not like you're standing and just getting into the car and you just drive around, and it's like something is. It's one way or another. I will still drive it somehow. But in the Ginetta, you get in, what you want to do, it does it for you. It's like a magic. It's I can't explain it, but it does everything what you want. So that's I think why we're so quick today.
So the car responds to you, the driver. It responds to you.
I think it's spotted everyone today. It's so controllable. It's so fun to drive. It's always fun to drive it. That's where we're quick, because we're having fun.
Yeah, you are, and you're going to be driving it for 24 hours. Are you and the team surprised at being the quickest GT4 car here?
In Portimao, where we're quick as well, but we need some changes during the 24-hour race itself, and because every time we have some issues with the car, but I hope tomorrow is going to be really good. Probably no issues.
Well, tonight it's all about GSR and their Ginetta, so enjoy that, Aris, and congratulations. You guys are on the GT4 pole. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Entertaining first segment of qualifying there, bringing us lots of action in some beautiful conditions here at Barcelona as well, and a chance to remind ourselves of precisely what the last 3 lots of 15 minutes has brought us here at Barcelona. Night practice. So plenty more to come across the next 3 days, but more crucially, the GT3s, the GTXs and the 992s will be heading out onto track all together, but we have a 15-minute segment for the AM drivers first of all. So this is very similar to how the TCE element was run together with GT4s. We'll know roughly where we are as far as the AM element is concerned, although actually you and I were chatting earlier on in the weekend. That's the biggest span of times sometimes. You have this big banner of an AM driver, but it's very difficult to pigeonhole your average AM driver, isn't it?
Well, if I was to go for my FIA categorisation, I would have the same categorisation as Le Mans winner Johnny O'Connell and Daytona winner David Donoghue. That gives you an idea of the bandwidth, Johnny, of the AM category, of course. But I think the Creventic and the 24H series do a brilliant job of making it as balanced as is possible, and try and get everyone to come here and enjoy their racing, enjoy their sport, and both at the very front of the field and at the sharp end. We've got some of the best drivers who have ever driven in sports cars here this weekend, and some drivers who are in their first season of international motorsport. How cool is that? Yeah. All together. Speaking of cool, Ivo Breukers in the GT3 red camel car for certainly the first time in a long time, if not the first time total. But Ivo Breukers is the king of cool because he's got the open face helmet with the Ray-Ban shades on. That's how you go qualifying.
Winding the clock back, which Ivo's always a big fan of. I mean, he's been doing this a fair while, to be honest, as well. I was in with the team at Utah/Red Camel earlier on. They don't have a great deal of experience with this Audi. It's been supplied to them by the Lithuanian squad. They are, what's the official name? Red Camel by Utah Racing. So it's effectively Utah's car, but Red Camel are running it, and they're next door to, actually, we should mention the fact that the 71 car was very much involved in an incident earlier on in free practice, which, now whereabouts on the track was that? Is that third sector? Or was
I can't remember exactly where it was. I saw the car coming back on the flatbed.
Well, it's not great in that we're not going to see that car in qualifying, in fact.
Okay.
They are hoping to get it fixed for the race. There was even talk that they might need another car, but now slightly better news after they were able to investigate the chassis, but the chassis not particularly in great shape, and that looked to be a big hit. It had to come back in via a tow rope, and you and I were peering down from our very lofty commentary position here on floor 3 of the main grandstand, and we both kind of synchronised in theme, went, ooh, okay, that's not great considering we were meant to be qualifying and night practicing later on. Yes, there was a suggestion that maybe a second car might be able to be sourced, but that's proving to be more difficult than anticipated. So the next best thing is for the 71 crew at Utah Racing without the Red Camel bit. That's just a straight Utah Racing entry into GT3 AM. That car may be able to be fixed, the 71 car in the red and white livery.
And the livery of Circle K, which you see there petrol stations all over the kind of Baltic region and in Estonia and places like that, and they make fantastic hot dogs in Circle K, that the sponsor of that car. So hopefully we'll see them back. I think it might. I don't necessarily think it'll be the time. It'll be the parts that might be the issue. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I heard that the chassis had been bent.
Oh no, really?
Yes, it was that serious. Now, you can think that by looking at it, and then you can start to strip parts away and go, oh, actually, it might be okay. It'll have to be re-scrutineered, I'm sure, so they will check it all out. And the hope was that they might be able to get as I say, a replacement car, but that's proving to be more difficult. So we will wait and see. But we're really wishing the 71 crew well, because they've only got as far as free practice so far, and we would want them to be obviously a lot further into it than this. We've got 15 minutes on the clock. That's starting to tick down already, so drivers are beginning to populate our little track map. Before we get going properly, though, let's hear from the pit lane, and first of all, Diana Binks.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Well, just as the cars are leaving to go out on the track for the GT3, just a quick chance to chat to Nigel Grinsall, who's just taken the TCX pole position in the number 133 JMac Engineering car. Nigel, now you were a bit surprised. I just came up to you and said, well, you put that on pole.
Yeah, that was great news, wasn't it? It really was. Absolutely delighted for James Collins, whose car it is and whose team it is. He's new into the sport. We started racing together about 18 months ago, and this is his first big event outside the UK, and it's a big leap, a big step. But him and the guys have been working so hard, trying to get the car to work well. We had a little issue when I first went out in qualifying, where the engine kept switching itself off every time we went to third gear, which was a bit of an issue around here because I need at least third gear. So anyway, we came in, we fixed that, and I had time for a couple of flying laps at the end, and just drove flat out, drove the wheels off it. So I had a lot of fun.
Did you know it was a quick lap?
Yeah, it's one of those that you're absolutely, so like with any car that I race, the excitement I get is being absolutely on the limit in that car on every bit of tarmac all the way around the lap, and it was absolutely on the limit, so it was fantastic. So it's a real good feeling when you get to the lap and you still survived, and you can celebrate.
Nigel, thank you so much. I'll let you get back to the team. You can see, for anyone that's just listening, the smile on Nigel's face is huge. So great to see you. Thanks ever so much. Back to you, Johnny.
Yeah, and to be honest, that rather mirrors an awful lot of the mood up and down pit road. That is why Creventic racing is so popular, because there's big smiles on so many people's faces well before we've got to race time. Remember, that's a midday start tomorrow. But people just loving being here in Barcelona, where maybe the weather is not quite as good back home. So come here early September, extend your race, or extend your summer effectively by a few weeks, and get some racing in at a Category 1 circuit. Always produces some entertaining multi-class racing, I would say. Grand Prix can be questionable here in terms of their interest for me. They just don't offer a particularly good race because everybody tests here, I suppose, and they know it back to front. But it does lend itself perfectly to multi-class racing, and that's why I'm really excited about this weekend's race. Good to have GTs back again. I know that in 2017 we didn't, but we've had a good span of GT3 cars getting involved. This is the 25th, will be the 25th edition of the Barcelona 24 Hours, the Trofeo Fermi Velez, as it became about 10 or so years into the history of the event. It started in 1998. Now, you might think, hang on, 98 to 2024, we should be up to actually race 27 by now. But the round numbers, it's an easy way to remember it. 2010 didn't happen, and 2020 didn't happen. 2020 because of the pandemic. 2010, not quite sure. I think just because they didn't have a lot of interest, strangely. So fewer cars entered, and it didn't make it viable to run it. But otherwise, it's happened every single year with a strong history in a touring car theme across the 24 hours. But I really do like the fact that GTs are part of it now, PMAC.
It's wonderful to see that, and to still see a little bit of the heritage maintained with having the races open to a TCR car. You can bring a TCR car here if you want, and I think it's wonderful that the teams and drivers fight for the Fermi Velez trophy. A driver who was sadly taken too young in his early 40s of cancer, but a two-time winner of the Sebring 12 Hour in one of the coolest endurance racing cars ever built, the Ferrari 333 SP. One of which went for many million pounds at Pebble Beach a few months ago.
Okay, yes. Well, Fermi Velez's family are often here at this event. I'm not sure whether we've had the confirmation that they will be here on Sunday, but they have got involved with the trophy presentation many times before, which I just think is lovely. His wife has been here a number of times before as well. With an event, with his name on it, I think that's only right to doff the cap to whoever has taken the victory each year. 10 minutes to go, time starting, as I say, to work their way onto the screen. This is nice and easy for me, breaking me in gently, because the qualifying one column is exactly the same as the average. We've only got one time, therefore, for about half the field. And Javier Morcillo in the E2P Racing Porsche was fastest, but now Alexander Prinz has just gone through in the Mercedes from Hoffa Racing, car number 11. And Chantel Prinz gave us some sneaky information earlier in the day to say that it's actually Alex's birthday. I think today, need to just check that, the 13th of September.
You weren't suggesting she'd given you duff information, Johnny.
No, but I was suggesting that she'd given us information that Alex didn't want us to have.
Well, our sources are working hard. We're
putting the spotlight right on it. I think we should give him a birthday interview as well, particularly if he stays top for the whole of this 15 minutes.
Well, he's just gone top of the show by a pretty enormous margin, by 2.5 seconds. at the top of the shop. So that is how you celebrate a birthday. Put it on pole by 2.5 seconds. It will very unlikely stay that way because there's hot competition out there, particularly in the GT3 category, and even some very, very strong Porsche 992 Cup machines who can mix up there with the kind of tail end of the GT3 grid as well. Those Porsche Cup cars are a seriously impressive piece of kit. So just under 8.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. It's Hoffer Racing, Alexander Prince, a 142.522. Javier Morchillo for E2P Racing, who's the CEO of E2P Racing, long-standing racer himself, but very much involved in the driver coaching side, which E2P are a big part of. Kobe De Bruyker, third overall in his Porsche 992 Cup car. That's a heck of a run from Kobe De Bruyker early on.
I've been in to see the E2P Racing guys a few times already this weekend. They've been trying to solve a little logistical problem of mine, and therefore I feel like I'm contractually obliged to say what a very friendly team they are. They are Spanish. They love this event. I know a fair contingent of them are actually based in Madrid, but also some are more local to this track. And wishing E2P Racing a happy event, a successful event, and maybe a trophy or two as well. But thanks E2P, you've helped me out a great deal with one or two dramas already this weekend. We don't have favourites, you'll understand that, but there are one or two that have been very helpful along the way. And their Porsche is currently in third. Alex Prinz wanting to limit the tyre wear. So has he done an out lap, a fast lap, and then an in lap?
He's got a birthday party to get to,
well,
clearly.
That's true, yeah. Get the priorities right. Cake to eat, perhaps. It's a good time to be born. My birthday was 2 days ago. The responsible adult's got her birthday in only a few days' time as well. Who else? Fabian on the 022 squad. His was the 9th.
It was Guy Smith's birthday yesterday.
Was it? Okay. So everybody practically was born in... Were you born in September, Pima?
And it's about as far away from my birthday as you could possibly get. It's
so
pretty much 6 months away. I'm February.
Okay, right.
So that adds to the optimisation of the September birthday.
So many questions before now about why are so many people born in September? Listen, right, you've had Christmas, you've had New Year, you start a brand new year. What can we do in January? Let's start the year as we mean to. You know, let's start the new chapter as the new year comes in. Alex Prince is in the pits. I'm going to change the subject. Kobe De Bruyker is in the pits as the fastest 992 Porsche. And remember, there are 992s and there are 992 AMs in the entry. The AMs far outweigh the sort of, well, the non-AM element of the 992 Cruise. It's purely that, though, done on driver makeup. The car specs will be the same, but there will be some difference in the rules, I'm thinking, because the AMs are able to take on a bit more fuel during each green flag pit stop during the race.
And they get more of an advantage in a Code 60 of what they could put in a Code 60 as well. And that's the same across with the GT3s as well. They're between their GT3 Pro-Am car and a GT3 AM car. We'll get into all that as the race carries on, but being on top of that's very important.
Apart from the fact that there has, I think, been a rule change for this event in that you can no longer pit twice under a Code 60, the same Code 60, to top up your fuel. You get one chance to put, for the 992 AMs at least, 25, well, it'll be 25% of your normal allocation. And once you've done that, that's it until the Code 60 runs out, or you go into a second hour of the Code 60.
Okay, hopefully we won't have that. That won't be good.
But that kind of puts an end to that old traditional thing. It was very much a Herbert thing to do, which was if the Code 60 was out for long enough, as in 10 minutes or so, you would pit once and you would pit again for your other 50%. You can't do that anymore.
It's the Herbert rule, basically.
Yeah, I think what they made it their own. Yeah.
When you look at their success rate, you can kind of see why. Strategically, they've always got an ace card up the sleeve, and what a cool thing when they won overall at Portimao back in, goodness, when is it now? May, I think it was, for Portimao 24 Hour, with their fat turbo liveried machine, which has already been on show at Verdi Porsche's car meet on the Grossglockner Pass, so it's already been pressed into service as ambassadorial car, if you like. I believe it's for sale, actually, too.
Oh, right.
Yes. Oh, no, that's the Nürburgring car. That's the Nürburgring car that's for sale, which has... so you can get on that.
But Verdi Porsche holds his event on the Grossglockner.
Correct. Yeah.
The route up to the top of the mountain.
Yes.
Because I've done that route, not in a Porsche, but it's you've been to the top.
Never.
Okay.
I really like to go.
There's wildlife up there as well. The marmots. You need to keep an eye out for the marmots as you have some local delicacies at the top of the hill. So, as the qualifying continues, most cars coming back in, but here's Diana Binks to the pit lane.
I'm down in the pit lane with Hoffa Racing number 11, and Alex has brought the car in a little bit early to conserve tyres during that session. But first of all, before I ask you what happened out there on track, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I think it seems like that I always come here to Barcelona, and it matched with my birthday. So yeah, we had a little bit like a small celebration with a cake. Yeah, but I saved it for after quali. Let's see if I deserve it. Yeah, so let's hope.
How are things out there on the track, and how different is this circuit now since they had the slight changes to it?
Remember, please.
What was it like out there on the circuit, and how different is it since they made the slight changes, or have you been there here since then?
Oh, since last year. Yeah. It felt from the first day. It felt really tricky from the grip level. We really struggle with the rear of the car. So it is still not perfect, but we can handle it. We just have to adjust our driving. So, yeah, right now it looks quite okay. I think my quali lap was quite decent. It's always a gamble with the traffic. And I tried to push directly with my out lap and then with my first flying lap. And then we decided, because I came into traffic, even when the tire was not perfect already, that we just came in, and then we will see how it goes for the other two.
Satisfied with the setup that you've got heading into qualifying after practice?
Yes, that's what we tried to do. We hoped that we get maybe 2, 3 free laps with a new tire. So now we save tires for Max and Kenneth, and then we will see how they perform. So cross fingers, and then we will see.
We will very shortly. Now go and have that cake. And happy birthday again from all of us.
Thank you very much.
Alex Prins, the birthday boy, a wave as well, because he's very, very happy with the progress so far of the Hoffa Racing Mercedes. Fastest after, well, one and done. An out lap, a quick lap, and then back in 142.5, bish bash bosh, and he is clear by 0.4 of a second over Stefan Tribodini's effort in the Santilok junior team Audi. But it's Mercedes, Audi, McLaren up there now with Todd Coleman, who is still circulating. That also means that we've got one of each of the GT3 entries, as in it's a GT3 AM car fastest, a GT3 Pro-Am car second fastest, and a GT3 without the AM or the Pro-Am suffix is third fastest, and therefore topping its subcategory. And that's Todd Coleman in the Optima Motorsport McLaren. There's a Porsche there as well. That's Scott Noble's number 91 Herbert Motorsport Porsche. Just literally change left on the countdown clock. In fact, in 1 second and now 0, the checkered flag will be displayed to anyone who's still out there, John Hindhaugh, but we only have, 4 cars still going round.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing here, JP, is a little bit of a difference from what we saw in the earlier sessions in terms of the experience of the teams and the drivers. We were talking to a number of teams for whom, qualifying's qualifying, but it's also an extra chance to get out and do some laps for some of their drivers, and perhaps that just was reflected in how long they stayed out. Far fewer laps being turned here. In fact, the most, I think, will be the Jutta Racing car. I know that one was the one that had the problem, wasn't it? Earlier on when it went off. So that car with no time next to it.
Yeah, it's too badly damaged to feature in qualifying at all.
Oh,
we're
really?
hearing, and the team were even looking into trying to get a replacement car, but that's proving more difficult than they thought as well. So they're going to attempt to fix it in time for the race. 1:42.522 is Alex Prinz's effort then, and as he said, can it higher? And I think he said Max Partel still to come in the number 11 car. Santalok Junior Team's Stefan Tribadini did a 1:42.9 to put that car second, and the best GT3 Pro-Am and the best GT3 car is the Optimum Motorsport McLaren 720S at 1:43.6. Then you got Herbert and Scott Noble, Poulsen Motorsports, Roland Poulsen's done his lap, Javier Mochilo, who started fastest, but E2P Racing have dropped to 6th. The Lant Motorsport GT3 AM car of Elmer Grimm 7th, and Ivo Breukers for Red Camel by Jutta Racing in their black and gold car. The best of the 992s is Red Ant Racing in Kobe de Bruca's time. Then it's the RD Sign Cholet Racing Team, Lambo, the ARC equivalent Lamborghini Huracan. Then Razun Morgan Racing's KTM ahead of the second Red Ant car. Holgard Motorsport with their Porsche 911, the QMMF Racing by HRT, 18th fastest ahead of HRT and RPM Racing in 992 AM cars. The Vortex tops GTX. No, it doesn't. It's second fastest behind the KTM Crossbow. And there's the Jutta Racing car, which didn't feature, as I said, the 71 car not able to come out on track. Too much damage on that chassis.
Well, they do have a spare car. And it's here. Unfortunately, it's in the hand of...
well, that's true. They've already sold that for the weekend to somebody else.
Exactly. Red Camel by Jutta Racing, running what would normally be their spare car. So 2 more 15-minute sessions to go. If you are just joining us, hello. Welcome along. Good to have your company. And let us know where you are watching and listening from. Hello to Alan Prosser. Hello, Alan. The brilliantly titled Lanzarote Camel already watching, tuned in, and he is down in Wales. I want to know what your next career choice is going to be, Alan. I know that you've stepped away from what you've been doing in the past as the management role. Dinah Binks is the voice down in the pit lane.
I am, as the cars down here on the pit aprons are just waiting a couple of seconds before they head out onto the track. I was hoping to have had a quick word with one of the drivers, but he's just jumped into the car. So it's a bit quiet down here at the moment, John, just as they get ready to get back out there. They're pacing their time, taking their time, obviously conserving the tyres as much as possible down here, but it's all pretty calm at the moment. But I'm expecting a number of these cars, and there's probably about 6, 7, 8, 9 here ready, waiting to get out there on track. So there'll be a pretty frantic exit in a few seconds' time.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of time to change drivers over, but that's really the only thing you can do, because the fuel is locked in for the whole of the 3 sessions, and you cannot change tyres, as we've said several times as well. So it's kind of like a Parc Fermé rule set, apart from the driver change and those personnel permitted over the line in front of the garage in order to make that driver change as efficient as possible as well. I thought there used to be some restriction on the middle sector as to which driver had to be used, but PMAC, who's read his regulations and he's very good at that, just says that the first one is about AMS, the second and the third you can kind of do what you want, as long as you don't repeat your drivers from previous sessions. The majority of the field are going with 4, so automatically one driver is going to miss out from qualifying duties. Away we go then with 15 minutes on the clock. Is that a race car with the track limit Politai on the rear? It certainly is.
We've seen this car before, if memory serves. A bit of fun, and the 992 Cup car. We saw a lot of those last weekend at Spa, of course, and an historic win by QMMF. Try and get a word with them in this session. They took their class win and did up exactly as if it was a Dutch traffic police car. Because Porsche have got a history of supplying police cars and 911s at that as well. Some green and white ones in the German police down through the years as well. At RSL_studio, as we were saying earlier on, if you want to get in touch and if you want to follow along on the timing, livetiming.getraceresults.com and click on the 24H series. So, which drivers are going out here, JP? I see a number of... Again, we've got choices here that include some big name drivers, and do you put them in second, do you put them in third?
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately it shouldn't matter, although, well, yeah, do you prefer to have a bit more tyre life, or do you prefer to have a lighter car? I wonder whether they've drawn lots ahead of the 3 sessions, but interestingly, all of the top 5 have held back a little bit, maybe for a freer exit out of pit road and a bit more track space. That it is Maximilian Bartel, as Alex Prinz rather suggested it would be in the Hoffa Racing Mercedes, that at the moment occupies that provisional front position. Pierre Caffer, now normally he is held back till the 3rd and final session, so Santilok Junior team have really unleashed their secret weapon already to put him out in the Audi R8, car number 18. But we're still waiting for the McLaren number 4, that was 3rd fastest after the first bout of times. 91 Porsche from Herbert. Not sure which driver they're going for yet. Alfred Nilsson it'll be in the Poulsen Motorsport BMW M4 though, car number 14.
Just the fact that we've got Maxi Bartel, Pierre Caffer, Alvaro Parent, Rick Breukers, Eitan Redon. Does that suggest to you, JP, that they think this will be the fastest session?
I think you have to assume that, don't you? I mean, I'm not sure whether that's down to ambient temperature. It should actually be improving. There's more rubber going down. The ambient is just ebbing away very slightly. So maybe it's to do with tyres, because these drivers, if they were basing it purely on fuel, they would go with session 3. They obviously want a bit more tyre life to then present the car to whomever for the final session. But it's interesting that there does seem to be a consistent decision there towards the sharp end that generally it's the quicker driver.
I'd agree with that. Abdullah Ali Al-Khalaifi in the QMMF by HRT car. I hear noise from the pits, but I didn't hear Diana call us. Where are you, Di?
I'm just waiting patiently to grab a moment. Well, we've got Ivo Breukers with me from the number 9 Red Camel car. But it's a bit of a change for you this weekend, Ivo. A very different car in the Audi for you. What's your preparation been?
Quite hard, to be honest, trying to set up the car. It's a new car. GT3 is quite a challenge. We're trying to find a good setup, a good balance, and for me personally it's not easy. I think I tried all the braking points and all the lines which are here on the circuit. But the more I push, the slower I go. I think in my first outing I did 46, and now in the qualifying just 1 second faster. So it's all the blame on me. I hope Rick can show what the potential is of the car.
What is the main issue that you're having then? What is it that's holding you back?
Trying to get the inside of the corner, and when I am in the inside, I need to wait to go before going on throttle. It's a combination of everything. It's slow corners, fast corners. I think it's me.
What made you come to the decision to try a different car?
One part of the decision was that last week we had a 992 Cup, Michelin Cup in Spa, and we wanted to avoid that we needed to work a lot on the Porsche car, and we got a very good opportunity from our friends from Utah Racing to try this opportunity, and so we did.
Well, let's face it, we've got a long way to go, haven't we? It's the very start of the weekend, and you guys are all so experienced, you know what you're doing.
Yes, and we have all kinds of different lineups. Fortunately, we have also Fabian and Luke and Rick, so I think they should do the job.
Well, I'll let you get back to it.
Thank you.
Well, he's always very honest, Ivo Breukers, and if things aren't going swimmingly well, then he'll tell you as such, and I think he just sees that as a massive challenge. They always go well in a Porsche Cup car, Rick's driven Audi GT3 cars before. In fact, he had a mega start to 2019 when he won at Dubai and he won at Daytona, and I want to say he also won at Sebring that year. But he had 3 huge wins in a then very current Audi. This is an older car now. It's further into the GT3 cycle, but
don't forget he also drove the Lamborghini, which is effectively the same car. With a different body. He was a Lamborghini Junior driver,
indeed,
for a wee while. So you're right, he's got loads more experience. I thought Ivo was being rather too hard on himself there. They've not had time to test this car, so he is at the moment getting his first opportunity to sit in the car and try and turn some fast laps. The key things about GT3 cars compared to what he's driven is it probably won't feel as quick in a straight line as the Cup car because it's got a bit more aero, but because it's got a bit more aero, you're taking more speed through the corner. Also, he's got ABS and he's got more sophisticated ABS, and you have to be using that right to the apex of the corner, and you have to be using that to rotate the car. Also, he's got weight at a different place from the 992 Cup car. It's much further forward, and therefore the car will be a lot more neutral. There's a lot to take in there for Ivo, having not had... It's not like he's had 4 or 5 days of testing in this car. He was driving a 992 Cup car for 12 hours as part of the team last weekend, and he's barely had time to get back home to Holland, to the Netherlands, and then get back down here. I think he's been a bit hard on himself, and I think by the time he's done a couple of stints in the race, he might feel a bit more comfortable in the car. But that's the reality here, that they're in the ARM, aren't they? The category, Pro-Am category. They're sitting 4th in the Pro-Am category at the moment. I think what they've got to do is be patient, and what Ivo's got to do is be patient and build his experience with the car. Because if... He said it himself, actually. I thought his first comment was very telling. The harder I drive, the slower I go. The other thing is the track quicker now than when he was in it earlier on? Or did it get hot and cool down? Is it greasy? What's everybody else's times like? You can be chasing a time, and sometimes the time isn't quite there. Red On Racing with the 904. It's the bright yellow car going quickly at the moment.
Yeah, and you might think, it was outside of track limits there, but they are counting the curb as being part of the track this weekend. So even if all of the car is over the white line, as long as one of the Hankook tyres is in contact with that red and white curbing, then the lap time will still be legal. You don't get chances in qualifying, unlike the race where you actually get 3 infringements, and that's at per corner, by the way. It's not all the way around the track. So,
but it's not per driver.
No,
it's per
not.
car. So if in your first 2 stints, if your first driver goes off at turn 2 twice, and then comes off, and your second driver goes off a 3rd time, that will get you the warning.
Yeah, indeed. So they are incremental, and they are being counted across the whole of the race. Unlike in ACO rules racing, for instance. I mean, I learned this from a couple of weekends ago when you were talking to a McLaren driver whose name completely escapes me now, Josh.
Oh yes, it was.
Who said it resets at the end of the stint time. So when you come back out again, you're effectively back to zero. As far as
Josh Grogan.
Thank you. You're back to the 0 position on the counts, whereas, like you say, it's different here, and you need to know. You need to have been to the driver's briefing to remember precisely which meeting you're at. The 18 car of Pierre Caffer, Santilot Racing, in its black and green colours, is working its way now out of La Caixa corner and through Bank de Sabadell, turn 12. Now, this is one of the real pinch points of track limits, both on the inside and the outside of turn 14. You will get potentially stung there if you push a little too hard. And this car of Pierre Caffer, 2nd fastest over, well, that's on the averages, and in the session not that far away, although not 2nd fastest in the session to this point. We do have the means.
Josh Cahill.
There you go.
I knew as soon as I said it.
I knew it wasn't Grogan, but I couldn't say who it was.
As I said it, I knew it was wrong. Josh, I apologise massively. I had a good chat with him. We were very fortunate being on site at the WEC to be able to grab in some top guests wrangled by the responsible adult, including Timo Bernhard as well, who I thought was great value.
He was.
At the start of the race. He was meant to be with us for about 20 minutes, stayed an hour. He was loving it. He was loving it.
Pull him away from the commentary position, kicking and screaming.
Pretty much.
So Aaron Telitz has done a lap without actually us talking a great deal about it, and sneaking up there in the McLaren to do a 141.7 within the session, and that brings the average time down for the Optimum Motorsport McLaren to a 142.7 across the board. So it was a 143.6 from the first driver in car 4, and that was Todd Coleman. So yeah, Telitz's effort. Now he's the pro, of course, and they've got Fred Scharndorf in that car as well.
He'll be next, won't he?
He should be next, yes.
You'd think.
Well, you've got 2 pros in your lineup. You're going to use both of them in qualifying.
Yeah, I think that is the fastest lap that we've seen by a GT3 car in this qualifying. That is hauling. That is pretty impressive.
Well, nobody else in this session so far is in the 41s.
Yeah.
We've got a 142.2 from Alfred Nilsson, the Swedish driver, and he's parked up as well. Pierre Caffer's still pounding round, but he's only good enough for a 142.6. So nearly a second faster, Aaron Telitz in the Optimum car.
Oh, he's good.
I knew he was good. There was never any doubt in my mind there, but on average, what is that gap? It's a tenth of a second. But when you consider in qualifying 1, Todd Coleman's efforts put him, well, not within the top 10 positions.
The race last record here was set in 2024 at the Le Mans Cup round. And that was Riccardo Agostini in a 296 Ferrari GT3. That's a race lap record,
yes.
So we're a little way off that at the moment. Different tyre manufacturer.
We'll get to Dynabinks in just a tick, but actually Todd Coleman was 3rd fastest in qualifying 1. So we had the 3rd fastest time from Todd, now the fastest time in qualifying 2, and that brings the average towards the Optimum Motorsport McLaren. Here's Dynabinks from the pits.
You were just talking about Aaron Telitz here with the number 4 Optimum Motorsport car, and Aaron, you... so far up to this point, I think you've set the quickest lap. How is the track evolving out there during the qualifying session?
Yeah, the track feels great. This Optimum Motorsports team has given us a great McLaren 720S GT3 Evo car to work with here this weekend. Todd did an awesome job in qualifying 1. It's his first time ever in a GT3 car, so really proud of that. And yeah, the track is pretty quick here, I think, this evening. So we'll see how Fred goes next.
What's the traffic like?
It's been really crazy in practice, but out here just now we did a good job just getting in a nice clean gap, so I got 1 lap of clean air, and that was all we needed.
How much are you enjoying this Barcelona circuit?
Yeah, really enjoying it. First time racing here in Spain, first time racing a car in Europe other than in the UK back in Formula Ford days, so yeah, really enjoying it so far.
So is it a bit of a baptism of fire?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, it is. But we're all learning really fast. Rob, Todd, Fred, and I all getting on really well. So, yeah, looking forward to tomorrow.
Well, Optimum run a fantastic team. They've got great crew here looking after you, and we're better than a 24-hour race.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can't wait.
Thanks very much, Aaron.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, I was trying to work out whether he may have been to any part of Europe other than the UK. I reckon he was a Team USA scholarship member in 2014, so 10 years ago. But yeah, Jeremy Shaw looking after that.
Came to dinner at my house.
Well, that was always the tradition,
wasn't it? Tradition, yeah.
Before the Walter Hayes and before the Formula Ford Festival.
Yeah, or in between.
Or in between.
It just depended, yeah.
An evening meal that would hopefully tie in with Midweek Motorsport.
Correct.
Yeah, to get a little bit of exposure. He then went on to do US Formula 2000 later on or during that year. But yeah, the big opportunity came in 14 to do that. He was then a Pro Mazda champion just 2 years later.
He was with Mackay Stevens that year in 2014. I'm delighted to say that Mackay is back in the IMSA Championships at the moment, working very, very hard. Man, there's been some good names through that particular championship. Just looking to see if there's anybody else who... I was trying to see if Neil Verhagen had been through that, but I don't think he was. It was one of his teammates, Jake Edson was in there, Neil Alberico. That was the BMW driver that I was thinking about, who'd been through that. Conor De Filippi, Joseph Newgarden, Conor Daly, Dane Cameron, Charlie Kimball, Brian Sellers, AJ Allmendinger, Joy Hand, Andy Lally. Do I need to go on? Buddy Rice. First year, 1990, it was Jimmy Vasser. Second year, 91, it was Brian Herter.
He likes every Daytona 24 Hours to get all of the Team USA, the former Team USA members at that race that year in one group shot, which is a lovely touch. Aaron Thielitz then fastest for Optimum Motorsport, bringing that time from Todd Coleman, who was third in Q1, up on the average, a 142.7. It's Pierre Caffer, second fastest now with Santilok Racing. These are all on the average time. Oh, well, they were to that point. 143.9 at the Hoffa Racing Mercedes. Yes, you can see the time, or the time that I'll refer to was in the session, but the fact that they're in third is on the averages. So Poulsen Motorsport, average, fourth fastest with their BMW. Then the Herbert Motorsport Porsche, fifth quickest, but the time in session was a 143.4. E2P Racing, the local crew, with Alvaro Parent, so very much using their secret weapon in their Porsche, 144.3. They're sixth on average, ahead of Red Camel by Utah Racing and the RD Signs Cholet Racing team. Then Lant Motorsport with their Audi R8, 147.2 in the session, but ninth fastest on average, ahead of Red Ant Racing. That's the best 992 Porsche so far. ARC Bratislava's Lamborghini, Razzoon More Than Racing, they're the quickest GTX car on average with their KTM Crossbow. Then the second Red Ant Racing Porsche, number 904. Road to Le Mans, they have a 992 AM car, 14th fastest on average. QMMF by HRT are 15th, and Holmgard Motorsports Porsche 16th. On the average times. Magnus Holmgard was last out. Nicholas Jonsson in the 907 RPM racing car, 17th fastest on average, 147.4 was the time, ahead of the Vortex GTX car, then Mühlner Motorsports Porsche, HRT Performance with a Porsche Cup car, as are MRS GT Racing, Orchid Racing, NKPP and Vortex, two Porsches and a GTX Vortex V8. 24th overall, and that is the lot, because as I'll remind you, Utah Racing's Audi may be in the race. It's not taking part in qualifying though, sadly, after being damaged in free practice.
Yeah, let's remind ourselves, within this particular group of 24 cars that we've seen, 24, there are three separate classes of car and four classes. Actually 5 classes, aren't there, really? Because we've got GT3 split into GT3, GT3 Pro-Am and GT3 Am. Then we've got GTS. Then we've got 992 and 992 Am. And then we've got... No, that's it, isn't it? So, yeah. So, for the purposes of what we're doing here, we'll lump the GT3s together and we'll lump the 992s together. When we get to the podium just after noon, high noon on Sunday, we might change our minds about that, because there will be separate podium celebrations for the different cars. Back to green, and it is the 903 of Yannick Redon. It goes out to round up their qualifying in the final 15-minute session. Johnny Palmer and me, John Hindhaugh, in the booth. In the pits, it's Diana Binks. JP?
This will decide the front 12 rows then of the 25th edition of the Barcelona 24 Hours, the Trofeo Fermi Vélez. And is it going to be a McLaren on the front row? Audi, Mercedes, BMW and Porsche all snapping at the British sports car's heels. So, and it's a British team, remember, running that McLaren as well, the GT3 Evo. So who will they turn to next? We rather suggest Frederik Schandorf, the Dane, who was in that McLaren that took pole position at Le Mans this year. It was actually a time done, that was, well, an Optimum car, wasn't it? But they ran as a different team name. Again, my memory's awful this afternoon. I'll get there, don't worry. But I was thinking it was a Fred Schandorf time, but that was a bronze-only session at Le Mans.
Yeah.
So, in fact, it was Brendan Iribe who did the time.
Beat me to it.
Inception Racing. Inception and
kind
Optimum. By Optimum, yeah.
I often get Inception and Optimum mixed up anyway.
Well, they are the same.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the same faces quite a lot of the time in the pit lane, isn't it? And that, what are you which shirt are you wearing this weekend? Are you Optimum or are you Inception? Brendan Iribe, the US IT and hardware magnate. Mm-hmm. Is he the man behind the Oculus glasses?
Yes, the kind of virtual reality.
Moment or two ago, JP, very close moments down at turn 9.
Yeah, well, this is a bit of confusion sometimes when a car's giving way to another and then it doesn't actually pick up the pace. So that was the 69 Lamborghini slotting through, and the Porsche that had done the gentlemanly thing in allowing the space then wanted to hurry things up towards the third sector of the lap, and it didn't quite happen. So there was a danger that the RD Sainz Cholet Racing Team Huracan was going to get a big old thump in the rear. Nicolo Michelin in the 69 car. And I didn't quite spot which Porsche Cup
it was
car
Yannick
that was.
Redon.
Oh, Redon, okay.
In the 903, the red and white version of that. They've gone very different. We can't get those mixed up this weekend. Red and white is 903. 904 is highlighter yellow. It does not get any brighter. It actually needs a contrast button on it. It is very, very bright. Smashing looking cars, the pair of them. They weren't at the Endurance Cup race powered by Porsche Motorsport last weekend, concentrating on this championship, and they've been looking to turn around their fortunes. The last time they were out, JP, was in the extreme heat of the circuit Marco Simoncelli at on the Riviera and down at Rimini. Absolute nightmare for both of their cars in that heat. It was stupidly hot. I've never seen as many GT3 cars of the current era struggle, but it was well over 50 Celsius on the track, and that was just bouncing back up. Very dark, recently relayed surface there, and the ambient was getting up towards 40, over 40 Celsius, which that was hot even for me. Now, poor Scottish correspondent was struggling.
I'm just busy looking up Jens Klingmann because although, you know, he's a massive name in BMW world, in championships like IMSA and the World Challenge as well, he's not done a great deal of Creventic races, although he was part of the lineup with Dubai, in the Dubai 24 Hours last year to actually win the event. So he's won one of the Keystone 24-hour races in Creventic's grouping, if you like, but Barcelona will be one that he wants to tick off for sure. So there is the Lamborghini heading through turn 8. Tricky corner there, approaching downhill and out of some frustratingly slow corners, like at Repsol, which is turn 4, and into Seat at turn 5, and then that awkward approach into turn 6 and 7 and 8. They kind of all are thrown at you in quick succession. And yeah, it's downhill, and then you've got the blind approach to turn 9. Blind because it's actually uphill. You don't know where the apex is, and then it's downhill on the... Oh, there's a big off-fall. The Lamborghini that we're talking about, the 69 car of RD Sainz, a moment...
13.
Coming out of, out of 12 and into 13.
Yeah. Did well to hang on to that and probably didn't lose a huge amount of time, as... I'm wondering if they've just got the... Well, no, the sun's behind them. Oh, they were well in the gravel. That did lose them time.
Yeah.
The Hankook Rallycross tyre was... the WRC tyre for next year was what they needed there. Yannick Redon struggling down at turn 1, the first corner, just losing the front end of the red and white Porsche. It is that time of day where heading up to turn 3 and turn 4, the drivers will be struggling with the sun in their eyes. Johnny Palmer making a makeshift sunshade here with his spotter guide.
It's useful, you know, but the problem is, of course, because it's printed on both sides, I'm getting the cars on the reverse upside down, but it's a perfect visor. So I just remember not to look at the entry list whilst I'm shading my eyes from the sun. But yes, it's swinging round, just dropping into the vision from our commentary box. But that's going to be affecting you, into 3. 4 might not be too bad, actually. But then I'm also thinking probably that flick between 11 and 12 will be very awkward now as well. Was that actually an element as to why Michelin lost it? Because if he's going, struggling to see the apex, he's going to be very, very wrong trajectory then coming out of that corner.
Certainly going up to 10 until it drops behind the trees in the grandstands.
Another very close incident because the Herbert Porsche was going slow, trying to buy itself some track space. That's Jason Hart. And there was a bright yellow Lamborghini, which will have been the ARC Bratislava car, really not wanting that Porsche on the exit line, and had to adjust. So that would have been a good lap gone for Zdeno Mikuláško. 8th place for the 44 Lamborghini. That's on average times again. So 146.4 in this session. This is the best time, actually, from Mikuláško compared to his other two teammates.
Delighted to see Scott Noble with Jason Hart and Dustin Blattner coming across again from the United States. Ralph Bone is the constant in that Herbert Motorsport. There, had a long chat with Scott and Jason at Misano, World Circuit's Marco Simoncelli, and they were having a ball and loved working with Herbert. That didn't, honestly, didn't get the result they deserved. They were very quick, but they said, now we're definitely coming back, and I think we'll see them potentially for a whole season of commitment next year. We know, of course, we'll be starting off at Dubai for the 24 hours, and then the week after it'll be Abu Dhabi. Rest of the season being worked on at the moment. I know the teams were talked to in the drivers meeting yesterday about some extra results weekend event dates that have been confirmed. That haven't been announced publicly yet, but things are moving along nicely, is what I hear.
Well, Peter Fry did a little speech at the start of today's drivers briefing, which I was able to sneak into, and there is a fixed date for Mugello next year. I'm not sure whether we're allowed to say it, but I'll say it's not radically different from what we've had in previous years. And Spa is set, but the real difficulty, the Spa 12 hours, that is, rather than another version of last weekend's Spa event, which I think went down pretty well.
Oh, it's great, mate. Absolutely fabulous.
Yeah. But the calendar as a whole, they're still working frantically on that, and, all the hours... Exactly. All the hours God sends to try and get a calendar out, because this is the final event of the year. I know that there's the track days that will be taking place in December, which will fall into part of that Middle East segment of the championship, the Middle East Trophy. So there are 2 days.
20 cars for that, at least, at the moment.
Yeah. 17th and 18th of December, I want to say. That's a weekend.
16th and 17th, I think.
Okay.
It's around that date. The 17th is definitely one of them. I can't remember if that's day 1 or day 2. Ultimately, a bit of testing for season 2025. And so, another close moment, this time for Jens Klingmann, Pulsen Motorsports BMW, just having to avoid... Now, that was I think that's the 917 Porsche, the silver. There's a couple of GT silver cars there. That's the Orchid Racing Team, or it was the Road to Le Mans 949. I'll be honest with you, with the sunshine, I couldn't see which one of those it was. Already Alan Prosser will be rewinding and pulling that up and sending it through to at RSL_studio. which I have on the screen.
And Alan, if you're watching a screen without a sun setting behind it, then that's not fair, because you've already got an advantage over us.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Track days at Dubai Autodrome is the 17th and 18th of December. I've got it. Well,
you were spot on, mate. Well done.
Thank you. I didn't think
nice little pre-Christmas jaunt for a bit of sunshine on that.
It's too right, yeah. And then, obviously, there's a date for the now Michelin 24 Hours of Dubai 2025, and that'll be the 10th, 11th, and 12th of January, followed the following week by the 6 Hours of Abu Dhabi.
The Middle East swing, if you will, or the UAE swing, getting us underway for season 2025. Big event as well in Dubai. Already a lot of teams have confirmed it is the 20th running of that race, and expect lots of celebrations and folderol around that. We've been going through the entry lists from back in the first edition, and there's some surprising names in there that have gone on to do various things, and there is a team that will be going, I'm sure, who was there the first time.
Nice. Okay.
And we're going to have a few features of that. Fred Schandorf for the Optimum McLaren in the pit lane.
Well, he's fastest in the session, and they are also quickest, therefore, on the average. But it's been nip and tuck between him and Jens Klingmann. I've been thoroughly enjoying that BMW M4 on the ragged edge. Optimum know they've done enough because of Schandorf's lap time, a 1:42.082. But Klingmann did a 0.94. So we are literally talking 12 thousandths of a second between the McLaren and the BMW.
And Christa Jørgens for Santalok Junior Team Audi now up into second with their best time of a 1:42.7. Now there might be a bit more in that car coming through to the end of the lap. This is the number 18, 1-8 car coming through to complete another lap now. In second at the moment, but needs to find some time. Actually, that wasn't Christa Jørgens coming through. That was the 5th place car of Red Camel by Jutta with Luc Breukers behind the wheel. It's neither red nor camel-y. It is the black and gold Audi R8 GT3. So we're all going to have to work with that one. You know, seeing pictures of the cars for the first time, as are we, although we've had the slight advantage of being able to wander through a very warm and welcoming pit lane here. Looks to me as though, with time dropping down, 1:23 to go, I don't think Optimum are going to go out again. Fred Schandorf still sitting in the pit lane. This will be down to whether Christa Jørgens can get closer. Klingmann in the pit lane from 3rd, and Poulsen, Hoffer Racing and Kenneth Heyer in 4th. Luc Breukers still out there. He might as well use the tyres. So whatever's left in them, he might as well get another lap out of them, JP.
Yeah, it's a fair point, but Optimum are looking at a gap of 3/10, thinking we should have this, because Jens Klingmann, well, he's parked up already as well. But as I say, 12 thousandths of a second separated Schandorf and Klingmann in that session. And Klingmann could not have given much more in that BMW. It was moving around on the road like crazy. It's a bigger footprint than the McLaren. Longer wheelbase as well, and yeah, he nearly lost it about 3 times in that final sector. But someone like Jens Klingmann can deal with a car moving that much and still hustle a time out of it. So 1:42.0 and 1:42.0 for Schandorf and Klingmann respectively. 1:42.7 for Christa Jørgens, but that's more crucial because he's brought the average down enough to be in between the Schandorf and Klingmann cars. So Jørgens in the Santalok Audi, that's the car that he shares with Pierre Caffer, and
is that
second.
Are they the fastest GT3 times, JP? In the whole of the 3 sessions?
No, because we had that 1:41.7 from Aaron Tielitz, which was even faster.
So 1:41. That's
on less old tyres, though, in fairness.
But with a heavier car.
Yes.
With half an hour of, getting on for half an hour of fuel in the car, basically.
Yes.
Would have to be. It's such a fine margin, isn't it, to get the numbers right. And that's where, the guy behind the wheel, the driver, man or woman, has to get it right. But my goodness me, your race engineer has got to do the calculations right as well.
Yeah, and as I said, they were probably drawing lots as to who might get session 2 and who might get session 3. And, OK, how am I going to approach it, therefore? Because you've got a car that's going to be slightly more cumbersome because of the fuel sloshing around, but it'll be grippier because of the Hankook tyres only have done maybe 3 or 4 laps, depending on how efficient the AM element has been. And that's what's so nice about it, is that the AM's kind of got to do their work as quickly as possible as well, to then hand the car over to the pros for them to do their business. But they will want some meat left on the Hankooks, and they want the car, well, yes, ideally as light as possible, but when you're shoved into the middle segment of 15 minutes, you kind of have to deal with whatever you are given. Luke Broyker's still out there in the red Camel by Jutta Audi, and Ben Boonagel continuing around for Mulner Motorsport as well. That car will be seeing the checkered flag very shortly indeed. Really tight times in the session. The averages are slightly more open. As I say, it's 3/10 that separate the number 4 Optimum Motorsport McLaren from the number 18 Santilok Audi, and then a further, well, just a 1/10.5 back to the BMW of Poulsen Motorsport.
Optimum Motorsport, and Fred was just standing alongside me from the number 4 McLaren 720S GT3. How would you describe that session? Are you satisfied with the times that you managed to put in?
Oh yeah, we are super satisfied. I'm really happy about what Todd and Aaron also did, and the team have done an amazing job the whole weekend and prepared the car, so it was just really enjoyable to drive. And our strategy went really well. That the first 2 guys, they only did a very few laps, so to keep fresh tires for the guy after. Todd did an incredible job doing the lap in straight away as well. So that also just made the whole qualifying session easier for us, that we had a good tires throughout the run, where some of the others we could see they were like doing many laps, and it just made the next qualifying session a lot more difficult for everybody else. So I'm just really happy to be here on pole position. We were on pole position for Le Mans. We didn't win, so now hopefully we win this one instead.
How important was it for you to sit with the team ahead of coming out for these qualifying sessions to plan the strategy, to each decide who would go when?
We also practiced this, so we decided this straight away, the order as well, so we're going to practice this. So everybody have tried exactly these conditions before, so that's also why I think it went super well, that we actually did that a few times in practice to make sure we had the best feeling, all of us also the feeling in the car, and let's just make it very good for the qualifying now.
And did you have a feel that you had set a really quick time?
Yeah, I knew that. Obviously, I didn't know what the other guy were doing at that time, but I knew from the previous reference that Aaron did, I knew that if that was that close to his lap time with the older tires, that must be a really good lap then. So I'm just really happy that we're here. I'm really glad to meet these 3 guys. It's my first time racing with them, and it's the first time they're racing here with the team. I'm glad that we can have a pole position for them to celebrate. Also, Todd's first time in the GT3, so that's really good.
Okay, well, I'll let you get back to celebrate with the team, but they were very happy as you pulled into the pit apron here.
Thank you very much.
I didn't realise that it's Todd Coleman's first time in a GT3, so that Q1 time is even more mega in that respect. What did he do again? Let me just have a look. 1:43.6. And that was followed up by a time only 2 seconds quicker from Aaron Tielitz, who was the quickest across all 3 sessions. So it's Optimum Motorsport, when you lump the times together, that are quickest on the average. 1:42.5 from Fred Schandorf. 1:42.0 from Schandorf. 1:42.5 is the average time to give Optimum Motorsport and McLaren the pole position for the 2024 edition of the 24 Hours of Barcelona. Then an Audi from Santilok Junior team. It was Christa Jørns who was pretty close to the 2 quickest times within that session, because the other quick man within Q3 was Jens Klingman for Poulsen Motorsport and their BMW, following up on Alfred Nielsen and Christian Poulsen, who did the initial time. So McLaren, Audi, BMW, then a Mercedes, the Hoffa Racing car for Kenneth Heyer, car number 11, and then a Porsche. So 5 different manufacturers in those top 5 positions for the grid. Herbert Motorsport and Jason Hart doing his time, the average of 1:43.8. Then Red Camel by Jutta Racing are the third fastest GT3 Pro-Am crew, ahead of the locals, E2P Racing with their Porsche and RD Sainz Cholet Racing team with the Lamborghini Huracan. 9th fastest on the averages, Land Motorsports Audi. Tim Vogler did that time. ARC Bratislava's Lamborghini will start from 10th, ahead of the GTX pole sitter, the KTM Crossbow from Razzoon More Than Racing. Red Ant Racing with their 992. Porsche number 903 ahead of RPM Racing's 992 AM. Then the Road to Le Mans Porsche. Then it is the Vortex for GTX 17th ahead of MRS GT Racing and Holmgard Motorsport, HRT Performance and Mullner Motorsport. Vortex, NKPP and Orchid Racing Team complete those first 12 rows. Quite a qualifying session then here in Barcelona. The grid, barring any arguments afterwards, is set for the GTs and the TCE parts of the grid. But that's not just the only action we have here, of course, this weekend. We've got night practice to come later and the race tomorrow, which starts at midday, but we'll have a full build-up at 25 past 11, the previous hour. Remember, it's Greenwich Mean Time +2 because Central Europe are in their summertime at the moment. So be sure to join us, obviously, for the race midday to midday, Saturday into Sunday. And night practice is later on. Bye for now.